In the last few videos, we talked about the best attacking principles, the best rules for a successful attack, but sometimes we are on the other side of the board, we get attacked and we have to defend our position. So let's talk about the most important defensive principles. Let's start with number 1. Don't move any pawns in front of your king. If you move a pawn in front of your king gets in a weaker position. It's easier for the attacking side to sacrifice, to make a pawn storm, and that, you get your king in a more dangerous situation. So if it's not necessary, don't move a pawn, try to defend with pieces or other moves, but don't move a pawn if it's not necessary. So let's look at an example. This is the position which was played between Blackburn with the white pieces and Schwarz with the black pieces. The game is very old. It's from 1881. And here Schwarz had to decide how to defend this pawn on h7. Black is a pawn up, but white has an attack on the king's flank. h7 is hanging at the moment, and black has 4 moves. He can play h6, g6, knight f6 or knight f8 to protect this pawn on h7. Of course, it's very important to keep this pawn because otherwise the rooks can enter via the h-file. So we have to defend. The worst decision would be h6. This is a very good example why it's very dangerous to move a pawn in front of your king. Now white can immediately sacrifice the bishop there to open up the king, to open up the files. And for example, if you take, then it's mate soon. Queen takes and there's no defense against queen h8. There are some other lines, for example, rook takes e1 to get the queen to e1, then the queen cannot enter here, but white can just play queen g5, and you see all white pieces are in a very good place to attack. Mate on g7 is hanging, and for example, bishop f8, is also not enough. White does not take this rook on e1. It doesn't matter. Rook h7 and mate in the next move. So that's a nice example how dangerous it can be to move a pawn. Of course, g6 is a better move. It's also a pawn move, but it's more stable, this position. This pawn is protected by 2 other pawns, and white cannot sacrifice immediately. That's why g6 is a good move, but black played knight f8 here, and this is even better than g6 because the knight defends the pawn on h7 cannot be attacked. So knight f6 is bad because of bishop g5, and the knight has to move again. This is not a very safe square for the knight. But on f8, it's a very good defensive idea. And for example, if you play g6, then of course white cannot sacrifice immediately, but white can attack the pawn with f4, f5. And this is only 2 moves to keep the pressure here on the king's flank. If you have the pawn on g7, then white needs 3 moves to attack the pawn. And also f6 is not so easy to reach for white. So knight f8 was a very strong defensive idea. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe to the channel, then you won't miss the next defensive principles, and see you next time.